Hello and welcome to All About You with OMG and Friends, where we talk about the things that you think about and some things you don't. I am your host, OMG, along with my co-host,
Daydream.
We'd like to thank you for joining us, and we ask that you please join in on the conversation, where your thoughts, your comments, and your opinions help drive the conversation. Today we're going to talk about the Mandela Effect. Now, many of you probably have never heard of that. You have heard the name Mandela, but I'm going to give you just a quick synoptic overview of how I got into this about 3 years ago. At any rate, I'm a word person. I like words. As a kid, I was a spelling bee person, and from there I went on to major in English. So I like words. I am that person that would read a book that has been proofread by 2 or 3 professional people, but yet I will find the word that is misspelled or used in the wrong tense. I don't know how. I'm just saying this is how I've been. And I've noticed about 3 years ago, something I had seen was not what I recalled it having been. So that put me on a quest to try to figure out what the heck all of this was about. So to be perfectly honest, the Mandela Effect, named after Nelson Mandela, is an effect that when someone has a clear memory of something that supposedly never happened in this reality, but residual evidence shows that it actually did happen. It is named after Nelson Mandela, who many thought had died in prison in the 1980s. And according to some, his second death took place on December 5th, 2013, at the age of 95, while serving as president of South Africa. So that's how it got the name. So basically, psychologists describe this disconnection between our memories and our realities as confabulation. Now, the term describes a disturbance of memory, which can result in the production of fabricated or misinterpreted memories, even despite contradictory evidence. Now, I find it hard to believe that the world is basically telling you that millions and millions of people have pretty much confabulated. Everybody's brain is all messed up at the same time, remembering the exact same sequence of events, like it never happened.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Generations of people
remember certain
let's
things.
put it that way, for perspective. Not just millions of random people, but generations of people.
I'm just curious.
Misremember.
Again, I take everything back to being miseducated. I don't believe anything. I don't believe, our history. I agree with Napoleon Bonaparte in the 1700s when he said history is a set of lies that has been agreed upon, and that's pretty accurate.
Absolutely.
If I were to ask anybody right now to tell me who discovered America, they would 9 times out of 10 say Christopher Columbus. Mm-hmm. That's not true. There was an Italian man by the name of Amerigo Vespucci, with whom America was named after, who discovered America. Because if Columbus had discovered it, it would have been Columbus. Naturally, you name things after you that you have discovered. It's just a lot of little things that we just...
And you know what? Not to, downplay it, but I think in an episode of The Sopranos, they made a comment about that. It had to do with the Christopher Columbus Day celebration. And it was just a comment in the storyline that somebody made about it was Amerigo's Vespucci.
Vespucci, that's right.
That's funny that you said that.
Because these are things that most people don't know, and ask me how I know. I don't know. It's just things like that catch my attention. But again, we're miseducated. Mm-hmm. I asked a couple of days ago for someone to, when we did a couple shows back, what did they remember about Eli Whitney? Mm-hmm. And most of us will remember, and I did find something on that I want to read to you guys real quick, just to give you the onset of the beginning of change. And it's somewhat acknowledging, where is it? Just because I'm looking for it. Okay. It basically says here that, give me 1 second, I'm sorry, my phone's coming up. Okay. It says... Just because I'm in a hurry, otherwise this would have been on the screen by now. Sorry about that. But basically, whenever this pops up, it speaks of different states, at least 10 or 12 states, having been told that, and people growing up that Eli Whitney was a black man, and he was the one who discovered the cotton gin. Mm-hmm. And so they're making, here it is. But it appears that not thousands, but maybe millions of Americans have grown up believing that he was not a white man. There seems to be no geographical locus for the misinformation. Commenters from Georgia, California, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Virginia, Kansas, Florida, and Massachusetts insisted that they were taught that Whitney was black. Older examples of the convictions are as plentiful as cotton bolls on a Georgia plantation. And then you have people, again, it clearly states that we were taught that. And so, as it goes a little bit further, it says that Eli Whitney was a slave. I remember that. Because they told us, again, you're studying black history, that a black man invented the cotton gin. Eli Whitney was his name. Now, when we bring it up, now all of a sudden he's a white guy. But years ago, he was a slave. And he was, in fact, the one who supposedly invented the cotton gin, but he wasn't white at the time. So a lot of our history is just being
whitewashed.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. For a good, better term, that's exactly what it is. And I do have a video here that I'd like for you guys to listen to see some of the things that have changed that you may not have paid any attention to. I mean, there's small changes like cereal, cartoons, lines in a movie,
right.
Just things that you recall that, and I can even sing this little song. When I was a little girl, there was this song, and I don't even eat meat now. Maybe that's because it was a song about bologna. And
I know exactly what song. Because I still sing that song, and I still eat that bologna.
Okay? My bologna had a first name, is Oscar.
My bologna had a second name, is Mayer.
But now it's not. It's Meyer. So let's see if we can run this video, huh?
As I said, and we know that's completely wrong.
That's completely wrong. It was Mayer. And so, again, they've played games with the Coca-Cola signs, just little things that you recall having been there. Not just you, but millions of people like you. So I don't know if there is, in fact, a parallel alternative universe simulation or whatever this is, but things are actually changing.
Right. And while we're listening to that, please give us a call here at the studio. And I know that there has to be other people out there that, as we're talking about this, they're like, wait a minute, I remember this, I remember that. Give us a call here at the studio, 713-789-0096. You can also text us at 833-OMGNU. That's 833-664-2638.
Okay. There's so many things. I mean, this could just be a long, ongoing process, but...
Many people believe that things have been altered in their reality from the way they remember them. They believe the cause of this is the Mandela Effect. While no one is sure why it's happening, there are many theories. The Mandela Effect is believed to be an alternate reality effect, so not every single effect will apply to everyone. An example that might be ridiculous to someone might be a reality to someone else. This is the nature of the Mandela Effect. Every single brand and logo shown here has been checked against databases that track these changes. No change has been recorded. So this is not just a case of rebranding of any kind. So these changes are either due to the Mandela Effect or there was never a change at all. I will present all examples as before and now. Before being as people remember it, and now as it is in our current reality. This list was created from the combination of two previous lists. All typos and errors have been corrected to the best of my ability. Here are 100 Mandela Effect examples in under 10 minutes. People remember Nelson Mandela dying in the 80s in prison. He actually died in 2013. The village people have an extra member now, a military guy. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, the Scarecrow now has a pistol. The famous quote from Snow White, "Mirror, mirror on the wall," is now "Magic mirror on the wall." The back of the eye sockets never had bone, now it does. Tony the Tiger now has a blue nose instead of black. JCPenney is now JCPenney with an extra E. Hitler's eye color changed from brown to blue. Sally Field's famous Oscar acceptance speech line, "You like me, you really like me," has been changed to "You like me, right now, you like me." Chuck E. Cheese is now Chuck E. Cheese's. Desi Arnaz is now Desi Arnaz. Procter & Gamble is now Procter & Gamble.
It was Procter.
The opening song for Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood has changed from "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood" to "It's a Beautiful Day in This Neighborhood." An interview with the vampire has now been changed to an interview with the vampire. People remember the Mona Lisa being emotionless. Now she has a smirk. Home Depot is now the Home Depot. The Berenstein Bears are now the Berenstein Bears. The Staples logo now has a staple instead of an L. People remember Gene Wilder died in 2013. He actually died in 2016. The famous quote from I Love Lucy, "Lucy, you got some splaining to do," was never said. Oreo's double stuff is now spelled with a single F. Seth MacFarlane is now Seth MacFarlane. One of the famous quotes from The Wizard of Oz, "Fly, my pretties, fly," is now just "fly, fly, fly." During the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, people remember only 4 people in the car. Now there is 6. Cheez-Its is now Cheez-It. Oscar Mayer is now spelled M-A instead of M-E. C-3PO isn't all gold now. He has a silver leg. The Volkswagen emblem is now split. The Volvo emblem is now a male symbol. The Ford emblem now has a little loop in the F. Fruit Loops is now spelled with a double O in the word fruit. Skechers is now spelled without a T. People remember Shasha Gabor dying multiple times. The famous quote from Silence of the Lambs, "Hello, Clarice," is now missing.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Cup of noodles is now cup noodles. Whiteout is now whiteout without an H. The Fruit of the Loom logo no longer has a cornucopia. People remember Katy Perry as Kate Perry. Johnny Walker whiskey is now spelled with an I-E instead of a Y. People remember Gaddafi dying multiple times. Sally Field's last name no longer has an S.
Wow.
Johnny Quest is now spelled without an H. Folgers is now spelled Folgers without a D. People remember Castro died in 2011. He actually died in 2016. Mickey Mouse no longer has suspenders. O'Reilly's Auto Parts is now O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Share your opinion by calling 713-789-0096. Stay tuned.
Reading a good book is intimate self-indulgence. Hi, this is Silky Smooth with the All About You show. I recommend Key Ingredients to Loving Yourself, Nourishment from the Inside Out by Gloria Davis Armstrong. Each page is like a pilgrimage to self-discovery. Unlock your ingredients to loving yourself more. This book will stimulate your senses. Begin your journey to self-love today by visiting keystoloveself.com and place your order. That's keystoloveself.com.
Life is so complex today. Are you having trouble understanding what's going on in your world? Tune in today to get focused on today's world. Join me every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time on Vision Life Radio and get some abilities needed to deal with today's problems. This is Perspectives. I'm your
Now
host,
it's an I.
Robert Jackson. I've got my perspective. Do you have yours?
We're couch stick ditching kids edition, and we're on a mission to get kids off the
Well,
couch
it used to
and
be
into
the-
the kitchen.
I call it the Indian, but it was the little squiggly.
I'm Chase. I'm Champ. I'm Cassidy.
And I'm Chandler.
And you're tuned in to the bridge. Stay tuned.
I've seen this one where his legs are crossed. No, he's like this. This is going on the opposite. Everything's not going on. They just changed. I remember Captain Crunch. Was it Captain or Captain? CPN.
You're listening to
Now it's
the Bridge
Captain.
of Black Radio
Now it's
Network. The conversations lead to real change.
I remember that.
And we are back. You're listening to All About You with OMG and Friends, and we are in fact talking about the Mandela Effect. And before we went to break, we run a video that had 100 of some of the most memorable changes that people, have related to. But there are a lot more than that, because now they actually have, I don't know if it's due to quantum computer, whatever it is, it's a lot from a technical standpoint, but they actually have signs now that are changing. Like a Starbucks sign, for instance, Chevron sign. If anybody remembers Chevron, Chevron sign had the red sign and then the blue color up under it.
Correct.
Now it's blue over red, so they reversed it. So all these, there are subtle changes, and you can see some of the, if you go on YouTube or just try to find some of this information, you'll see where they're actually almost like changing colors, and it's almost like it's done real time. I mean, right here, right there, as you're watching it. And so you'll hear people, have it on the screen and showing it to you. But I'm trying to figure out, what is this for?
See, I could go with marketing. It's just a logo change, an update, marketing.
Branding, you try to stay with what you have created. You don't necessarily, recreate. I mean, I guess you can recreate a brand naturally, but usually the brand is about what you have created over a period of time, and it's sustaining that period of time.
Right, but now with this generation and with these younger generations,
they don't have any memories of any of the stuff that we had, that we know. They'll just know Looney Tunes as TUNES. When we knew Looney Tunes to be TOON.
Right, for a short version of cartoons.
Right. See, they don't know any of that, so they have no real reason. But I don't want people to believe that we're the only ones here. I believe there's a whole nother. We're in a matrix, as far as I'm concerned. There is. I believe that in alternate universes, and I also maintain and kind of postulate.
Continuum, is that what it is?
Yeah,
time
and I also kind of go with Einstein had postulated basically that everything happens simultaneously.
Right.
So he's saying that everything happens all at one time. So, I believe in time travel. All these things that, I guess the futuristic shows like Star Trek and Star Wars and all these, I believe all that. I don't believe it's just by happenstance that you see it as a prototype for a movie. It's real life. And so now we're starting to live in a situation where our world is changing. And I don't mind if you change your brand, but just don't try to act like I didn't see it the other way.
Right, that it was never that. That's the issue.
Acknowledge, yes, we're changing from this to this. But don't act like the Kennedy thing. Don't act like there were 6 people in that car.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I don't remember the car looking like that either.
It was a Lincoln.
I do know it was a Lincoln, but the particular vehicle that I'm seeing in the image that we looked at earlier, for whatever reason, the color looks different to me than what I recall. So little thing like that, okay, I'll let it go.
See,
I was young, paid attention. It was a big thing. Remember the movie JFK? The man who killed the man who killed JFK is, who was it? How did the slogan go?
Which one?
The man who killed JFK was Ruby.
Okay,
or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it had to do. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
I remember that. And so I remember that being a big thing when the JFK movie came out. The movie JFK came out because it brought up the assassination and all these other theories and everything. So it was always 4 people in the vehicle.
But for what? Okay,
and the side that they were on. Who was on what side?
Again.
Was Kennedy behind the driver or was he behind the passenger? And there was also Secret Service men walking along with the car. Where are those men now? Because now all I see are just...
The kids now will remember a totally recreated history. That's why I think it's... into any of it. It's all been recreated.
Well, I think with these younger generations, they're just willing to accept whatever. It's this. Oh, okay, because they said it.
They don't question anything. They don't research anything. They're okay with what they're told. And then, that's not all of them. You have some, young people that are up on it that will study history to know what is happening. But then you have the majority of them who don't care anything about history. I remember once before when we talked about Black history on one, a couple of years back, and a young man called in and wanted to know why were we talking about such old topics. When you talk about Rosa Parks, or you talk about Martin Luther King, or Eli Whitney for a purpose.
Right, like why were we talking about it? Because it doesn't seem, it's not relevant. It's like...
Right, and that's basically how they feel. So, they're going to have a whole new list of brands, and history will be recreated for them. And like Napoleon Bonaparte said, it will be a set of lies that everybody has agreed upon. And now, when you go to pull up Kennedy's assassination, that ride in Dallas, you'll see 6 people in that car. You can't even find it now in the 4-seated Lincoln.
Right.
They just completely converted it to what they want the story to be. And so they've dumbed us down so much until I think we don't even think anymore. We don't even question stuff. It's like, okay, like you said, it's like, if that's what y'all said, that's what it is.
Right, just accept. Oh, okay, because they told me to. Kind of like that part in Forrest Gump. But why did you? Because you told me to.
Now, speaking of Forrest Gump, the line changed in that. And if you recall, he said, "Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get."
Mhm.
Well, that's changed now. I forgot what they recreated it to. And in another part of the movie, they said that certain things were never said, like "Beam me up, Scotty." They claimed that
Right,
was
for
never
Trekkies.
said in Star Trek. I've been a Trekkie most of my life. I know exactly what it says.
Right.
So now you can find it whereby they have reversed it to where Scotty beam me up instead of beam me up Scotty.
Right.
But I'm trying to figure out why the changes. What's the point? That's not branding. That's just, in my mind, you're trying to
See,
create
that's
people second guessing themselves. Is something wrong with me? Am I tripping? Am I making this up? Or, it makes you go, because that's what happened to me 3 years ago when I discovered this.
Mhm.
And I just kept watching it, like, first thinking it was me. And then I realized after I researched it, this is not me. I remember this correctly. I
Right.
remember J.C. Penney.
right. And see, and that's what I'm saying. I get if you're trying to update, rebrand, marketing. I get that, and I'm fine with that. You
Yeah,
know,
but
like
let-
I'm okay
but
with that.
acknowledge
What I
it.
have an issue with is when you're altering history.
That's
Like I said, the with JFK.
that's
Okay, with the Kennedy assassination, that is the image that I saw, and that all I'm seeing when you try to pull it up. That is not
but
what was displayed everywhere. What
No.
played over and over and over again. And now I'm determined
you
to go
can't-
watch, because the movie JFK had clips. Had
Okay.
actual clips of the real thing. So
Okay.
I want to go back
Go
now
look.
and see it,
Well,
if
you
it's even there
this
now.
is bizarre, and I know you guys are gonna believe this is like totally off the wall. But and as I was researching something, there was a guy who he couldn't find anything on the internet regarding the 4-seated car
Mhm.
for the Kennedy assassination. So he calls his mother-in-law, and she has a Life magazine. Remember Life?
Yes,
Too young.
Life.
Life
Oh no, I
magazine.
remember.
So mom looks at the magazine and it shows 4. So she tells her son on the phone, well, it shows, he said, Mom, tell me what you see. Well, I see 4 people in the car. I see the driver and, Governor Connolly and
Mhm.
Kennedy and Jackie. So he asked her to bring it over.
Mhm.
Now, this is going to sound Twilight Zone type stuff, I know. By the time she got it to his house, it showed 6. And that's the kind of stuff I'm telling you that's happening now with
Yeah.
signs.
See, the Men in Black. It came from
And
somewhere.
I'm telling you,
People.
and that's a true organization. People don't believe that.
Yes,
that is
that's
a
what
true
I'm saying. It
organization.
came from somewhere.
And most of the stuff that we see, and I tell people this all the time, what you see on TV, you see as prototypes and all this other stuff, it is actually there. And I don't doubt that there is, technology is at least 50 years in advance. There are pictures out there now of Johnson, on a video phone, in Skyping. This is in 1960 after Kennedy passed. He's on the phone. You see he's in the Oval Office with all these computers up. I look at Star Trek on a regular basis simply because back then, everything that they had was already functioning. They just didn't tell us about it.
Right. It was only those
You had all the
super
computers,
secret,
You had the flip
confidential,
phone, you had the
underground.
beam me up, all of that.
Well, that's where satellite phones
That's
came from.
exactly right. So if they have it that way, it's already done some kind of way, and they just take the time to introduce it to us slowly so that we can adapt to it. And this is always about money. Ultimately, this is about getting in your pocket.
Yeah.
Advertising and spending
Well, and
dollars.
it's easier to make us sheeple that way, because if we're already questioning ourselves and like, oh, okay, well, yeah, they're right, maybe this, maybe that.
See, that's what I don't like. Don't
That-
play with my head like
Right.
that.
That's what gets me. Don't play games with me.
And it's,
I like I said, I'm cool with the remarketing, with the
Rebranding.
rebranding, marketing, like Captain Crunch. Instead of it being the full word Captain, it's now Captain, CAP. apostrophe in.
Mhm.
I get why they would do that now. It's the texting generation.
Okay,
Everything's
and it's
abbreviated,
Everything's
shortened.
shortened.
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Um,
But Looney Tunes and some of the other stuff, there are questions like whether or not the Monopoly Man guy, did he have a monocle that you
Yes.
recall? No, he didn't.
so did the Planner's Peanut.
Okay, but if you pull that up, he may or may not have a monocle. I mean, these are the types of things that you
Dang it!
remember.
Now by the time I go home
You're gonna
and
be
look at my
right.
Monopoly box, it's gonna be different.
And then they have things like
Mom, you're listening. So if you could please take a picture of the Monopoly box
and
and
let us
send
know.
it.
Have mom send it.
Post it if you can. Post it on the comments because I want to see it.
Yeah, and your mom will remember a different history than she'll remember like we do. The
Right.
things that we've seen. So, again, it's movies. Now, I'm a big, I watch certain types of movies, and I, Robot is another one of my favorite movies.
Mhm.
They've taken out the end of the movie where he and Will Smith winked eyes, and he winked his eye at Will, and Sonny, the robot,
Yeah,
winked
see, I
back
saw
at
it
him.
once
They took
and I
that
didn't.
away.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen it several. Again, I'm a Matrix girl. I'm a Star
See,
Trek
and I'm not a
girl.
sci-fi person,
See,
and now I
don't
wish
watch
I
that,
were.
but I don't watch scary
Now
stuff.
I wish I were,
Yeah.
because I would have been so much more aware. Maybe that's why I wasn't ready.
Well, things
to be
come
this
to
aware.
you. Things come to you when you're ready.
So and that's what I'm saying. Maybe I wasn't ready. I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, because you probably would have dismissed it like most people probably are dismissing what we tell them now.
Right.
See, if we're not talking or regurgitating the celebrity news and what the Kardashians
Cheese
are doing,
Man
and,
a bunch of celebrity
nobody
trash.
wants to pay attention to really what's going on around them. But I just wanted to let them know that they're not crazy. When you see something, you said, I could have sworn that this was that.
It's not just age, people. It's not just my age, my memory's going. Let me play some more Sudoku.
Yeah, right.
Let me do some more mahjong. It's not that. It really is. That's crazy.
But I'm just curious, how could, and even with the Eli Whitney thing that I read, where it says all these people in all these states remember having been taught that he was a black man, and then now it's just changed. And so the internet can change stuff quickly, yes, but I'm wondering how things can change now in real time as you're looking at it. And I don't know what D-Wave is. Did you have an idea what D-Wave is? I don't know if that's some sort of quantum physics computer type thing, but it's something called D-Wave. And so, the Bible is even being changed, people. Things that we remember. And the engineer here was saying basically, I know there are about 13 different versions, but I don't know how something.
Oh, there's more than 13 different versions. Several hundred.
Yeah.
Different versions of the Bible.
But the ones you hear talked about the most would be your NIV, your standard, your American version, your King James.
To me, those are the dumbed down versions.
Well,
because think about it. In the King James and in other versions, you have the thee, thy, thou. That automatically makes your brain think to have to translate it, right? Because that's not the language that we use now. That's more like Shakespearean type of language.
But who would want the language that we use now? Have you heard the language that we use now?
No. But I'm just saying, as we speak now.
Right.
So you're forced to think. Your brain thinks a little bit more. So what happens when you're working your brain? It becomes stronger.
Right.
So let's dumb us down, and you don't have to think. I'm gonna make it real easy for you. These now you me. Keep it real simple. So now we can slowly start changing it up. Oh, it's because it's the plain English version. It's the American youth version. It's the international version. The new international version. Why does there need to be a new international? International is international, no?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Why do they have to have all these different things?
So it's all of that is done to help, just to keep us dumb. And there's no other way to put it.
Off guard because you don't want to think. By the time
so that way we don't question.
And they have you moving so fast in the course of a day until it's like, oh, I don't even want to think about that. Literally, people will say that. I don't even want to think about that. Because it requires, brain power and some cerebral involvement to really give thought to what is happening. And so now, we don't pay attention. And so now they can run anything past us. And, I just don't buy into mass memory discrepancy. I just don't buy into that.
Right.
You can't tell me that. And
now, if we grew up together, we're in the same family, and we, quote unquote, misremember something, I can get that.
Mm-hmm.
But millions of people, generations of people, that's what gets me. It's generations of people.
But they're only doing, Daydream, what they've always done. That's alter history.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing it all along. And so now it's just being done in plain sight.
Right.
To where
now they're trumping us.
It's not even
now they're trumping us, saying, well, there's alternative facts that you need to consider. It's not an alternative fact. There's fact and there's lie.
Absolutely.
Truth
absolutely.
and fiction.
That's right. And in regards to Mandela, there's a book that was written, and it is called English Alive, and it is in the school system for Africa. And these anyway, it says in that particular book that Mandela died July 23rd, 1991. Now this is in their history book. It also spoke about the ANC, the African National Congress, and all the rioting that happened after he died.
Right.
People remember all of that.
I remember
Millions of
when I
people.
was young, because you said 91, so I was 11. I remember when I was young, the whole, for me, it was the whole thing
That's
with
like a Kennedy.
Mandela
That's some stuff you
in
remember.
Africa.
Right.
And then, assuming that he had passed away or rotted away in prison. And then when they said, oh, when he actually passed away, or the second time he passed away.
The second time he died.
All right. When that happened, I remember thinking, really? He was alive this whole time? I thought he had been dead.
That's what we remember, because it was so. And I don't know.
I was 11 to what? He died, or the second time he died was what, 2016? 2013.
Mhm.
So, come on, this was just 5 years ago. So that entire generation, I always assumed he was gone.
Yeah.
And the thing with Castro,
I did mention Castro.
yeah, they mentioned Castro, that people assumed. Now, I remember people saying he was on his deathbed gravely ill, and then you didn't hear anything, and then you would see his brother, and there was no confirming nor denying his health or his whereabouts. It was just you would see his brother more, and then when he finally passed away. So I remember that, but in that, it's communism. To me, that was the dictatorship and communism that just had to do with controlling and bullying.
Well,
just another form of bullying. Right. Well, I'm not going to tell you yes or no. You're just going to go with it, and you don't need to know all that. Yeah. Well, it's like the kid who asked 1,000 times why. You get to a point where you're just ignoring them like they're not speaking. That's how I feel dictatorship and communism and all that works. And even now, where we're living and how the U.S. is now.
Absolutely.
With politics and issues and the Kennedy assassination, we're questioning it, and they just ignore them. They'll shut up after a while.
They don't really care to know. People don't really care to know anything, so they don't research anything. They're okay with history being what it is, and right now it's a lie.
Right.
It is a big lie, and so, as I mentioned earlier, you can look up this book, and I had her name. I don't know where it is. Catherine Hute was her name. Oh, and it was called, what did I say, English Alive?
Well, while you're looking that up, I'd like to thank everyone who has been tuning in. Of course, I said my mom, and she says, exactly, I feel at times my mind is going. When we were talking about,
they're trying to make you think.
Right, they're making you feel that way, so that way you stop questioning it. And she also said, she goes, I'm sad. We were stronger in my old time. Absolutely. I do feel that older generations were stronger, definitely mentally stronger. Thank you, Evelyn, for tuning in. To my Theo, Felipe, thank you, and also to Yuli. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening to us. Please give us a call here at the studio, 713-789-0096. If you have pictures of some things that happened in the past, the Kennedy thing bothers me, and also the Monopoly game. I want to know if you have an old school Monopoly game, because like I said, by the time I get home, it's going to be switched. I know it is.
Here it says right here, Monopoly has been an icon of American family life for more than 20 years. In that time, memories of the bankers have changed. In particular, many people believe the original artwork showed the banker with a monocle. However, when looking at the evidence, it becomes obvious that the character never had glasses of any kind. I remember the monocle myself.
I remember I remember thinking, him and the peanut planner, the planner's peanut. I was like, oh, okay, they must be friends because they both have monocles.
But I don't know if you pull up now. Do you pull up Monopoly to see? And then you have.
Yes, my mom says exactly. Today, the youth they don't take the time to think. Teachers don't give the time.
They don't.
Well, they can't. Now
Everything's
teachers' time has been forced into just
testing.
Right, teaching to pass a test. So that's why everything starts at home. This is where you lay the foundation.
And stuff like Kit Kat, little incidental candy bars and stuff.
What do they do with Kit? I love Kit Kats. What do they do with it?
They didn't. Oh, okay. It's having a dash in the words Kit Kat. They didn't used to have that. The popular candy Kit Kat is often misrepresented as having a dash. It never did.
No, it was two words.
But now it has the dash in between. It didn't have that first. I mean, like I said, you can go and find, but I have a list here of quite a few things that have changed.
What did you ask me to look up? The Monopoly?
Monopoly got to see what you could find, whether or not he shows up. And I think Mickey Mouse or somebody had suspenders or didn't.
Now that I remember. The old school cartoons with the Mickey, he had suspenders and then he doesn't, or he does and doesn't. One of those. But
again, that's not a brand.
But that's also, no, those are cartoon editions because cartoons have changed over time and they've been.
Well, everything's changed over time, but does that mean for instance,
Because
Coca-Cola's
suspenders were
100 years old. You don't
suspenders
think
were a
you
thing
change-
back in the day.
then.
Now, if you see somebody with suspenders, oh, they're a hipster, they're this. No, they're an old soul. You know, suspenders to
Still
me, that's
like it.
real dapper. That's a gentleman.
That
That's
that 50s and 60s
absolutely,
look. Yeah,
absolutely.
that debonair look. But I was just curious whether or not they show it with the monocle and all. And also they have things like OxyClean, which used to be spelled with a Y, now it's spelled with an I. Febreze used to have 2 E's. Febreze now it just has 1.
Oh, really?
Vicks Vapor Rub
Vaporub?
is now Vapo Rub, VAPO. Where's the R? Like they said on the thing earlier, it used to be Procter and Gamble, not Procter.
Right.
So it's just little minute changes, but it changes things in your world. So again, it makes you realize that, you know, these are things that you had no idea would change over the years. It was one thing that remained consistent, you know, these
Right.
large companies. Again, the Oscar Myers, the Folgers, the Volvo, the Coca-Cola emblem, Looney Tunes. Was it Sex in the City or Sex and the City?
Sex in the City.
Well, now it's got to be Sex and the City now. Something's different. They made a switch somewhere.
I always thought it was Sex in the City. I never watched. I don't know if you were Sex in the City fans. If y'all are, go look at your box editions of your DVD and tell me what it says. Show us what it says before it changes. Before you're
Now we have Evelyn Arrington. She's the
yes, Evelyn was
owner
tuning
of the
in
network, and she's listening, and she's a pastor as well. A couple of things have changed in the Bible, and I remember distinctly having said this a couple of weeks ago to a friend that I was on the phone with, talking about living in a paradised earth whereby the lion would lay down with the lamb.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now you can't find that. Every Bible now reads the wolf and the lamb. I have never, ever, ever remember having read the wolf and the lamb. The only thing I remember about the wolf in the Bible was the saying sheep in wolf's clothing.
Correct.
That was it.
Correct.
But now to find Isaiah 11 verse 6 that reads that basically you laid out the wolf and the wolf and the lamb lay down together. And there was another instance where, you know, in the Bible where it says you do not pour new wine into old wineskins. Well, now that translates into
Or sheepskin.
into bottles. You don't pour new wine into old bottles. I mean, it's like some things I don't think requires a translation. You know, old Bibles would say fornication and those types of words. Those are fine. I don't think you have to
Right, because even
get in with the times and say sexual promiscuity. Fornication. That's what the word was in the Bible, and that's what we should stick
and
with.
it's still an appropriate
It's
word.
still right. So I don't understand the need to change.
Right.
I don't think the Bible should change to accommodate current language. Because
Right.
when you start changing stuff, I back up from it because
Right,
I don't
because
trust.
in the movie The Ten Commandments, was it also Cleopatra? But you see where they're providing water, and it's the sheepskin.
Mm.
So
Now they're saying bottles. You know, the
well, now I want to see what those versions look like on those
Yeah.
movie versions to see it was Cleopatra. Like I said, the Ten Commandments. What else would they have it in?
Well, they have access to change. You know,
Ben-Hur.
from digital. You know, we've got so much technology now; they can change stuff. But my concern is, again, it creates you're second guessing yourself. And I know there's certain things as it relates to versions, you know, such as Bibles and that sort of thing, and the translations and all of that. But the Bible shouldn't deviate that far off. You know, you now have the King James version, including words like, and you can
You
go.
also have the New King James
Oh,
version.
there's a ton of them.
I don't get why it needs to be new.
This is
why?
my point. Why do we need new? Why doesn't the old traditional one that we've had for years not fit? You know, because again, I remember the Lord's Prayer.
Mhm.
And as a child, I remember reading our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Well, now, you know, they're saying give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors.
Mm-mm.
That just doesn't ring well with me. I don't care whose version that is.
No.
Debtors and trespasses are totally two different things.
Right.
Debtors to me fits our world now because
Right.
everybody's in damn debt.
Mm-hmm.
So it fits that. And I know debt was an issue back then as well, but bottom line is trespasses is a much bigger course because you're
Right.
dealing with
You've offended someone.
you're
caused
dealing with
harm
how
to
people
someone,
right.
you've-
That's different than debt.
Right.
So even the Lord's Prayer has changed, you know. And so, Evelyn, if you have an opinion on any of this, please, you know, do shoot us an email, a text in regards to that. But again, do you remember when the lion laid down with the lamb instead, or do you remember a wolf? and a lamb laying down.
See, like I just remember we talked about this off air. The only time I remember wolves being mentioned was, you know, the shepherds were taking care of the sheep. They were out because they were out watching them in the pasture, and wolf in sheep's clothing.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Everything
That's
else was lion or something to that effect. But
and you can go to a website. I think it's called beanbible.com, and he'll show you a lot of the changes that have occurred. And the Bible now has words like matrix and penis and vagina and testicles and men wearing girdles. It would mention at some point men having their sword, in girded, close to their body. Well, now it says girdle. And so, and something I just read to you, Job, something that says breast in a man's milk in his breast. Again, it's like things are just kind of going towards the LGBT thing, and I don't have any issues with that, but I don't think my word needs to change because of that. I don't need to have, and there's also, and I saw it for myself in someone's Bible that it spoke of if a man has had his penis cut off. That, that's current day stuff.
right,
That wasn't something,
castration.
yeah, that wasn't, and then you're talking matrix and words like banks and unicorn and gay being in the Bible and pissant. Instead, like, I don't know what that's supposed to be about. Dwarfs and mufflers and tires and fresh hooks and highways. None of these words was in our Bible.
Right.
And now you have Ebonics in the Bible. Our little black
Straight
jargon
language.
that we have. It's just really frightening to see that. And this guy here tells you about how he's had a Bible. He said, I had my main King James Bible for 20 years along with 3 other King James Bibles, including one that was 157 years old. I can't tell you how disturbing it was to actually see these changes in his own Bible, including the one that he had that was 157 years old that he knew was different.
Right.
Turned out not to be so different after all.
Wow.
And with that, take us a break. Go ahead.
We will be right back.
Listening to The Bridge. Share your opinion by calling 713-789-0096. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Rick Lockhart.
The D-Wave computers. I don't know what that is. It says, are these something about CERN? And CERN is
Just looked it up. It's a quantum computer.
Okay.
That's
That's a lot.
worth $15 million.
It's worth $15 million? Is that D-Wave? Or that's
D-Wave.
D-Wave, okay. And then they said something about CERN. And CERN is
Disambiguation.
Huh?
D-Wave, disambiguation.
Disambiguation?
That's what
Taking away what? Is that what that would be?
I didn't
Disambiguate? Okay.
see- I haven't
Well,
seen
CERN is supposed to be, as I'm not mistaken, it's Catholic and evangelist and something else. Where? I just saw it. It's tripping me out. They can't give you a good answer, so I guess we just.
It's from the UK too, the computer. Well, not the UK.
The
it's in
company
British
in-
Columbia,
What is it?
Canada.
The D-Wave, the company.
It's from Canada, sorry.
Oh, okay.
British Columbia, Canada.
So what is it purporting that it can do? I mean, because it's saying here, because this minister is saying
Optimize processing, optimization problems, because stuff normally falls to the lower end of the spectrum.
And the
And so what does it have
electronic
to do with
wave
how we look at
function
things
of the
now?
D
There's too
atomic
much
orbital.
science.
Yeah, I know, that's what I said I don't want to get into all that because
You're gonna need like Shin or somebody. Like the real science. Anyway, here we go. You guys ready?
It's a mathematical function.
yeah.
No, you don't even need science. Yeah, it's more like physics and quantum.
Yes, it's pretty deep. I said it was quantum.
Here you go.
Quantum computer.
Yeah, but that's like. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And we're back. You're listening to All About You. We're talking about the Mandela Effect, and we were kind of going over the D-Wave and this quantum physics computer, which was some de-ambiguity. What is it?
Oh no, I misread it.
Oh.
Yeah, I misread it.
Okay,
But
disregard that.
right, but
Forget I said that.
but the D-Wave computer, it has to do with the quantum technology, a whole bunch of science stuff. I'm not a
it's very
science
heavy.
person.
Yeah, that's why they want to get
And
into
it
all
got
that.
real deep. Like in order to explain it, you really have to delve into because you need definitions for the definition.
But so
if there are any of you rocket scientists that are out there, I actually have a couple of friends whose brothers are rocket scientists. And if you want to confer with them and give us a real dumb version of that, we'd really appreciate it.
But I just, do you think that we are living in a simulation or
Maybe
a
that's what D
construct?
wave is for, the dumb wave.
Yeah, okay.
Think about it.
You know, so I'm just wondering if we do have, I don't believe we're the only ones here. I believe there are other people on this earth. I believe they've been here for years. I believe they brought our technology here. There's so much that people don't know.
Right, time travel, that
all
type
of
of,
that.
absolutely.
Time again is an illusion. A lot of the stuff that we think is correct and historical and traditional, it's wrong. It's different. I don't believe any of it. I now feel like I don't really know what my history is.
My Theo, he's an avid Catholic, he says the Catholic Bible did not change or has not changed, and it needs to have special approval from a bishop and the Pope.
Well, all of them are
Before that
supposed to
can
go
change.
through, but there's something called CERN, and I know the first two letters are Catholic and Evangelist. I don't have my phone to look that up. You look up CERN, C-E-R-N, and they claim, and this guy, beanbible.com, he's saying it's quite possible that CERN and D-Wave computers are working together to create many changes as this AI craze seems to be changing and reshaping our world.
Right,
AI,
it says CERN, C-E-R-N, is the European Organization for Nuclear Research.
No, that's
Is that what
not.
you're
It's- no, it's
referring
another
to?
one. It's Catholic, evangelist, or something. It's something I'm doing with the Bible, and that's why he's saying he thought it's possible that CERN and D-Wave computers, but
Well, according to this, CERN has to do with nuclear.
and I don't think that's. I think that's something else. But guys, it's just a lot. And if you want it, this is just an introduction to what's going on, just to let you know that you're not losing your mind when you see some of these things. But it's for you to research on your own if you find it necessary. And maybe after we finish the show, you may just notice something that, gosh, I remember this being another way. Because that's what got me interested into this. Because I know when I see a word, I'm
All
a word
it's showing me,
person.
I asked for a definition of CERN, and it just keeps giving me those acronyms
Really?
for nuclear
Okay.
research.
I'm about to get off. I know, guys, this is it.
I had it. I forgot what it is. I know if you look up
That's
this,
all it's giving me, no
there's
matter which
something
way I
else.
spell it.
Well,
It-
quantum and nuclear go together.
Oh, no, we're talking about, okay, there's something, I remember having read it. I don't recall what it is. I didn't write it down, but it was,
Right, you're not asking for CERN, the acronym CERN for an organization. You're the word itself.
I'm looking
it
for
means
the
something.
acronyms. The acronym for CER. I know it's Catholic, Evangelist something. And they would have, the Catholics had a lot to do with, our religious and spiritual history. I can't seem to find it. Yeah, it's a bit much, but like I said, it can be looked up. It's something that we need to just figure out if you want to just accept it for what it is and keep it moving and just notice the changes and
CERN,
realize
angels and demons. That's
and
what it is.
realizing that it happens, just move on. Or you can realize that you're fine and most of this is a construct. Kind of like the Matrix, where we're living in a world that can change right before your eyes. And so I do believe that there are dual.
Right. Well, even on a page called Angels and Demons, which it says the science behind the story, CERN, it gives the same thing that nuclear.
The same thing?
Mhm.
Yeah, I see that. That's not it. I don't know, guys, about CERN. That's not it. I want to see if I can. But anyway, somebody, my pastor or someone may know this, but I thought it
Probably
was
changed.
Okay.
Now it no longer exists.
I know it's. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the R and the N was for. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But you can research this on your own time to kind of see exactly what it means to you and how it relates to you, and just notice that again, our world is changing to accommodate quite a lot of people, and their different perspectives. I don't think the Bible and everything should change because LGBT. I don't believe that all these changes should be made to the writings and how the scripture is written to accommodate today's language. And I do know quite a few Bibles that were changed, to accommodate sexual promiscuity instead of just saying fornication. Leave it as the way it was. But we keep wanting to adapt, and I don't know that that's the best thing because everything is constantly evolving, and again, for the Bible to include words like penis and vagina and
I don't
matrix
I don't
and banks and
Yeah, I don't recall that ever being even.
yeah,
in,
it's in.
like I said, I
this
have
is King James.
right. I do have a King James, but it's the Conversation Bible,
Okay.
King James Conversation Bible, and it has maps and breaks down, you know, the way the world was laid out, the land was laid out during biblical times.
Mhm.
So
Well, all that has changed as well. They're talking about how if you really get into the Mandela Effect, there's really a lot of stuff to look at. We're just kind of touching on it lightly and kind of introducing you to some of these changes. But
absolutely,
you know,
make you think, make you pay attention,
Pay
and
attention
go
to
back
what's-
and look at old pictures.
I remember in the '60s that Dennis the Menace's dad had a cell phone back then. You know,
I
so
remember that.
all of this stuff, you know, that we have that we think is so new.
Mhm.
You know, it's so, you know, iPhone X, iPhone 10, whatever it is. It's already
Nothing is
there.
dumb.
Yeah, it's already there, you know. So, but at any rate, I think we need to be getting ready to get out of here because we have someone coming in behind us. But guys, be on the lookout for words that just don't normally fit into the place where they should fit. You know, like words like pomegranate and Bible include the word girdles. Women didn't even wear girdles. You only had the word girded in the Bible,
Right.
which is now changed. And so,
See, and when I hear girded, I just think of the Devil Wears Prada when she comes walking in, and he said, "Gird your loins."
yeah, you got that's what the Bible.
That's
gird
right,
your
you
loins,
gotta protect.
tighten, that's right.
Keep it close.
That's what we're talking about. But see, now
Now
this
it's
has
a
changed.
completely different meaning.
You know, and so again, it could have been cloning. You know, the thing with Mandela, because how can people? What did I say? Died several times. Zsa Zsa Gabor and a few other people.
Yes.
Died several times.
I
You
love
know,
Zsa Zsa
how can you
Gabor.
imagine? How can somebody die more than once? Unless, of course, they didn't die, and there's some other alternative to justify.
We let them be
we
forgotten.
let something, but I don't know. It just bothers me that this is an illusion that we're dealing with.
Right. Again, thank you to everyone who's been tuning in via the live Facebook feed and who's given us a shout out. We do appreciate your support and your help. You know, our rotating chair is available for those of you who actually want to be in the studio. Let us know which Wednesday you're available.
If scared. They must be scared to
Yeah,
get on
you
there.
can't-
You're scared to get on the air and talk. Come on, we do it every Wednesday.
We don't bite. We don't bite.
Right.
You know.
We want to talk about things you think about.
Right. So contact us via Facebook, on our website, www.allaboutyou.info. That's all about you, the letter U, allaboutyoushow.info. And also, thank you. My mom says, thank you guys. I just want to thank you. I am thinking about other things. But you guys, you give the opportunity to think and think outside the box.
Yeah, because
The world is on fire. Yes, Theo Felipe, you're right. The world is on fire, and people aren't even seeing it. That's the problem, and that's the whole purpose of this show. Is
absolutely, it's like no other show that you've listened to, I'm sure, or will probably hear, because most people just overlook this while you get caught up and bombarded. With mediocrity.
Right.
You get so caught up.
Settle.
You just settle. You get caught up with that. You don't think about what's going on around you. But again, we're just here to wake you up and
don't forget, we continue the conversation.
Right.
Just because we go off air, just because we're not live, does not mean that we don't continue the conversation. Hit us up on our Facebook page. Hit us up on Twitter. Also, like I said, on our website, send us a comment. Send us an email. The texting number is not just for when we're live on air. That number is for any time at all. We get those messages directly. We can respond to you right then and there. If there's topic suggestions that you have, let us know. We're open to talk about anything because, again, we talk about what you think about. So that's the entire purpose of this show. And to help you think in a different way. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Let's take it to the next level. But anyway, quantum leaps. Until next time, I guess we will see you next week on the radio.
No.
Hey there.
How you doing?
We knew you were out there. We were trying to get off.